Julian Andreoni.
Who are you with?
Drop Site News.
Oh, you're Drop Site. Oh, now it's like a race between who's the more pro-Hamas, Drop Site or Zideo. So now I got both.
So Senator John Fetterman just had the worst crash out of all time due to the mere presence of a reporter from Drop Site News. And honestly, this is the way that you should want politicians to react when they see you as a journalist. Like if politicians see you're a reporter for any publication and they're excited to talk to you, you're not doing your job correctly. John Fetterman, on the other hand, terrified of Julian Andreoni, young reporter in his 20s, who's been absolutely killing it by simply approaching politicians and asking them questions that our legacy journalists and reporters refuse to ask. So here's more from friend of the show, Julian Andreoni.
You mind if I ask you a question really quick? It's about.
I just want to say, I want your viewers to say how much I love to watch Israel eliminating the Hamas leadership.
Then you may like this.
I know that upsets a lot of your viewers and a lot of your founders.
Yeah.
So, but I think it's a great thing. So there's
President
no news
Trump,
coming out of me. I'm going to voice back Israel. The question is, where does your trash outlet come from, and who's funding it? And now, if you think
46,000 individual
your founders think it's appropriate to attack and kill Israeli civilians, that should be the news overall. And now you're sticking a microphone in my face. So,
it's not in your face, Senator.
So there's not any news here. So
President Trump.
I think the question is, why does Drop Site love Hamas and Iran and Hezbollah so much? I think that's the news. Yeah, I mean, are you okay with taking your paycheck from these kind of people?
Are you okay with Prime Minister Netanyahu being in the United States?
I love killing Hamas leadership.
Okay, so let's get one thing straight. What you just witnessed, aside from an obvious crash out, was a United States senator, a corrupt one at that, who is projecting. Because believe it or not, there are many people in this country, whether they're reporters or just ordinary American citizens, who loathe Israel because of Israel's conduct and don't need to be paid by any organization or any government to see things for what they really are. So in the case of Drop Site News, they do journalism. And if you do journalism that's actually tied to the facts on the ground, well, then you're gonna know what Israel really is and what they actually carry out, which is genocide, mass slaughter campaigns, crimes against humanity, land annexation, blackmail operations. The list goes on and on and on. And that doesn't really bode well for United States senators like Fetterman, who aid and abet those very crimes against humanity by getting down on his knees, his ogreish knees, and filleting the Israeli government on a day-to-day basis. He is projecting because he's a corrupt piece of crap. He's projecting because he can't fathom existing in a world where you aren't a mouthpiece for hire. And that's what he is. He's not a representative of the American people, couldn't care less about the individuals who elected him to represent the will of his constituents. What he is a bitch for Israel, for a foreign country that's loathed by the international community because they believe that they have the right, that they are entitled to killing tens of thousands of literal children because they want the land that those children live on. That's what Israel is. People don't simply loathe Israel because they're paid to or because they're anti-Semitic. They loathe Israel because of Israel's conduct. I know Israelis never want to take any responsibility for that, but that's the truth. And the hatred toward Israel is only going to grow, and it's going to go deeper until they change their conduct. But they have done everything that they can to isolate themselves and to insulate themselves from reality because they think they're special. They think that unlike every other human being in existence, they get to behave however they want with no consequences. But that's really not a just world. In a just world, what ends up happening is the chickens come home to roost. More often than not, we do end up with some form of justice. So if Israelis and their whores here in the United States, and I'm specifically talking about congressional lawmakers who provide cover for them, if they want to rehabilitate the image of Israel, they would, maybe rethink some of what Israel is up to right now in the Middle East. Because I've got one other thing to say. As the war against Iran continues to spiral and snowball into a much larger war with more countries involved, and as our gas prices shoot up even higher, as we barrel our way toward a global depression, I guarantee you that the image of Israel is not going to be benefited by any of that. I'll just be generous and put it in very simple terms. So that's just the fact of the matter. It's amazing to me how blind these politicians are. And the other thing that I'll say is they really do think we're stupid. That's what I just can't get past. They insult our intelligence every single day, and they can't fathom a world where people are smart enough to see things for what they really are. We see things for what they really are. My favorite thing in the world is John Fetterman, of all people, and his supporters whining about him allegedly being called an ogre. That's mild compared to the thoughts I have about John Fetterman, okay? Anyway, I love that young people are done with Israel. I can't wait until the political system in this country changes or the actors within that political system changes. But anyone can be corrupted. And so we do got to get money out of politics, because even with the public opinion polls showing that an increasing number of Americans do not want to support Israel, want nothing to do with Israel, that's just not going to change until you take the money out of politics. There's a lot of little hoes running around in Congress, and they'll do anything for the right price. So just keep that in mind. And for Julian Andreoni, keep up the great work. He does some of the best short interviews with these congressional lawmakers who are just running away. They're running away from him as he's trying to ask pretty basic questions, if you ask me.
Every time you ring the bell below, an angel gets his wings. Totally not true, but it does keep you updated on our live shows.